Hello, in this demo, we're going to look at the Copilot Studio and Aembit MCP support. So one thing to note right off the bat, this support is for Copilot Studio, which is the web-based version. It's not for Copilot, which is more of the consumer and user-based support on your desktop. So I'll show you the configuration on the Copilot Studio side, and then we'll look at Aembit to see how everything works. So the MCP gateway will be configured under tools. So I have one already here that's ready to go. I'll show you what that entails. So basically, you're going to point to the MCP gateway, and my MCP gateway is here. There really isn't too much else you really need to do. Once you get your MCP gateway, you'll just configure it as the host, HTTPS. Be sure not to put a slash at the end of host. You'll put it at this back of this base URL, and then you should be pretty much ready to go after this. So once you have that, the next thing to do is you have to go to your agent. You create an agent. I've already done that. And then you add a tool. Under the tool is where you add the MCP gateway. I've already added it, and I've already connected it. So the connection is just clicking connect, going through some flow. In my case, the flow was more on the all right, so here you just go make sure that it's connected. If it's not connected, you say create a new connection, and then you have it connect, and you'll go through your flow. In my case, it's using Okta. Once it's connected, you'll see the tools that are available to you, and you'll be able to issue some command. So I'm going to go ahead and issue a command and say, summarize my GitHub repos for 𝐀𝐻𝐿 All right, and the cool thing is this is in test mode, so you'll see exactly what's happening. So you'll see that it goes and pulls a tools list based on your MCP server. It'll put together the code that it needs, and then it'll start grabbing everything that it needs. So here you can see I have 5 repos. 4 of them are private, 1's public. It'll tell you what language it's in and so on. So it'll summarize your GitHub. This is just directly from our MCP gateway to GitHub. So now let me show you how that's configured. Here is my tenant. And then here are the 2 policies I'm using. So the first one is from Copilot to my gateway, and my gateway is here. If you recall in the previous page, it was the 9B F87A. This was what was configured as a connector or as a tool. So that's all that's needed on this side. In terms of the client gateway, let me get rid of this. In terms of the client workload, it's the redirect URI. Now this one is kind of a global redirect URI. I am using the star, but if you want to get really granular and do it per client, you'll have a big number. It's basically a tool identifier or a session identifier, but you can get that from, like, if you run a test here, you'll get the long identifier and you can put that in. And then the other thing that I also did was I enabled Okta SSO. You didn't see that step where it redirects because I was already signed in from earlier this morning, but it's basically just a redirect MFA style log into Okta, and then it pulls back some information. I'll show you what that information is and what it's actually used for. And then a couple other things. So here is where we have the trust provider to get the token. And here I'm basically saying if I've logged into my Okta tenant, trust it. I don't have any other rules, but I can add rules like groups or other user information. Basically anything that's user context related, I can add those rules here, but I'm making mine really simple. If somebody's logged in from the specific Okta tenant, they're good to go. But for production, you would want to get extra granular. And then the other thing is we have the credential provider. This creates a token, and then within the token there's custom claims. So I'm putting in Agent Claude for my other demo, and then Agent Copilot Studio for this demo. Like verified successfully. And then I also have a geolocation policy. In this case, it's a very simple one. It just says if I'm within the US, I should allow this flow to go through. So that flow was from Copilot Studio to MCP Gateway. Then you can add a bunch of these MCP Gateway to the backend service. So in this case, the backend service was GitHub. I'm getting from GitHub, I'm exchanging the token that we produce with a GitHub user-based MCP authorization token, and that's what the gateway is sending to the MCP server to do the authentication. All right, if I look at the logging, a couple of things to point out. Let me refresh this. So in the logs, you'll be able to see, in this case, it's this session from the gateway to GitHub. You can see that I got an MCP user-based access token, and I gave this to the MCP gateway, the GitHub MCP server, and that's what was authenticated on the GitHub side before any of my authentication or any of the prompts were responded to. And then here you can see kind of workload events. So the connectivity from Copilot Studio, including the user ID. This is what I got back from. This is what I get back from the application itself. And then we get the session information here and the header information on the GitHub side. And again, it shows you who the user is. So you can see user, you can see how that's binded to the user, binded to the agent, and then going to the backend service. All right, for more information, please visit Aembit.io. Thank you.